Oh, yeah. Good to see you. Thank you. Oh, this is you before.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let's establish a quorum.
All right, so I will go ahead and note that Commissioner, and now that we're in person, we have Commissioner O'Reilly, we have Commissioner McGowan, Chair Cohen, and Commissioner DeFigi all present. So we do have a quorum of 4 commissioners.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we have the pledge of allegiance. Oh, that's right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any public comments from people not on the agenda?
So at the moment, we do not currently have anyone in attendance, and we did not receive anything ahead of time. So if that changes, and I don't currently see any, I will let you know, but I believe we are good to move forward.
Thank you so much. Okay, the first item is the minutes. The minutes of March 6th. Everybody got a copy? Yes. Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll be happy to make the motion to approve. I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, the next item is our work plan. We also got an updated copy of the work plan in the packet.
And the one thing that I will note, so since we no longer have Vice Chair Lee, we did make an update the work plan with that. So the one thing I will note is that there is one domain that unfortunately does not currently have any representation, which was the civic engagement and employment. So just wanted to bring that to the commission's attention. All the other domains do have at least one commission.
Did we lose voice, Chair Lee?
We did.
Okay.
When I was looking it over, I noticed that we have a date on the action plan, a target date of July 2022, and of course, we've passed that date now, so I would like to recommend that we delete that date and just leave it blank for now, and then we can, just when we meet with Annabelle, if we're ready to set the timelines and dates, we can readjust that. Would that be okay with everybody?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. That's the only thing I noticed. What did anybody else notice? Okay. I want to remind you that, that we've had previous discussions about this, and we decided not to tweak the action plan until we met with Annabelle and started, our processes of what the work we were exactly going to do under each subcommittee. So we weren't going to do that until we met with her. So, because there are changes that are going to need to be made, of course. So that's what we kind of decided before. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
You know when that is, that
We're going to meet with her the 3rd week of April. She's coming down, and Bill and I are, and I think,
Recertification subcommittee, is that,
the what?
we populated the certification, maybe the last line. And Dr. Pelham also suggested a follow-up meeting with the recertification subcommittee.
That's Bill and I. We're on that. Tony was on that, and since he's no longer a member at this point, and I had volunteered last meeting to join that committee, then right now it's Bill and I on that subcommittee. We're gonna be meeting with her when she comes down. She's coming down the 18th and 19th of April. We're gonna be meeting with her at some time period during those 2 days. So it won't be, yeah, it'll be before we meet in May that we'll be meeting with her. Are there any comments about the work plan that you want to talk about right now? Do you think we need to appoint someone with the committee that's empty at this point?
So we're not quite ready. Obviously, which was just mentioned, the recertification subcommittee will be making a meeting with Cafe and Annabelle. And so we might have some some additional information. If there's someone that would like to, but I don't think we need to. Obviously, we're short a few commissioners at this point.
Yeah.
So we can assign, if someone's really excited and wanted to, absolutely, but I think we can hold off because we're not quite moving along with some of those domains yet. So I don't think we necessarily have to appoint someone at this point unless someone is really strongly interested.
I think we're okay with the way it is.
Okay.
Everybody's plate is pretty full.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for that. Okay, the next item are the informational items, the age-friendly.
So I did include some background information, but the few things to highlight is first, that was just mentioned, the recertification subcommittee, which is Chair Cohen and Commissioner Buchholz, will be meeting with Cafe and Dr. Pelham, along with city staff to kind of discuss what the next few steps will be. That will be the 3rd week of April that she will be in the area. And timing wise will be helpful because then that will fall before our regularly scheduled meeting in May. So the subcommittee will be able to bring back information and or agendize a topic that we may need to discuss and take action on in May. The additional piece that Cafe has shared is that they recommend, now that we're moving forward with the process, that we actually do the AARP survey. And just so that you know, I have already reached out to those representatives, and they mentioned that they would send information sometime this week. So unfortunately, I'm not able to give an update yet because I haven't gotten the information, but I'm hopeful that I'll be able to report out some additional information at our May meeting. But outreach has already happened. And that is something that Cafe said that with all the other cities that they've worked with on the action plan, that this has been, the AARP survey has been an important component of going forward and getting all of that information together. So we are starting that process.
So do you think we discussed it in May?
Yes. Yes, so in May, we should have some additional information, not only from the subcommittee, but also to hopefully some movement with the AARP survey. So we are moving along in a really good direction, and the subcommittee will have some, I think, some information to share once they have a chance to meet with Cafe and Annabelle as well. Any questions? We're slowly getting out of the gate, and I think we'll have some more information to share in May.
Yeah, I ended up having a copy, and I was concerned that there might be a cost associated, but there is no charge according to my notes about that.
That is correct. It is a free survey.
Also, in this, the timeline, we don't have an exact timeline, but the survey will be done before the focus groups happen.
Correct.
So that will drive maybe some of the questions, depending on what the survey results are. Thank you very much, Jane.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will definitely share information, and we should have more at our regularly scheduled May meeting.
The next item are the flyers that we received. We received quite a few. And Did anyone have any questions about any of the flyers? I think they apply to the city and then the city of Los Altos and Los Altos Hills, so.
So I'll do just a basic overview and then I'll turn it over. It looks like we have Chris from the town of Los Altos Hills. The first one that is the first one for the city of Los Altos is actually our spring egg hunt. This is really exciting for us because this is the first one kind of return to in-person, kind of what we used to do prior to the pandemic. So we are really excited. That will be this Saturday. Yes, this Saturday, and on right behind us on the Hillview soccer field. Starting at 9:30, the egg hunt will begin at 10, and then there will be some entertainment by Andy Z at 10:20. So we're really excited. It's open to walking to 10 years of age, and so we're very excited to bring that back this year. We will also have our upcoming Family Fun Day, not this month, but next month in May 20th, and the theme is Flower Power. That'll be here at the community center from 10 to 1. Lots of activities, and on average, we get between 400 and 500 people that come out. And even the one that we held in March, which it was not very nice weather. It was quite rainy, but we still had probably at least 400 people that came out to take part in the activities here. Next one is that we are opening our 23-24 school year for the Tiny Tots program. So it happens both here at the community center and at San Antonio Club. And so that more information is in the flyer, but we will be opening registration for next school year. And then, of course, we have our counselors in training. So we have those that maybe have aged out of our camp age, but are not quite old enough to work for us, but may be interested in working with kids, leading activities. Our counselors in training is a wonderful program, which is actually coordinated by our recreation coordinator, Candace Avena, but if you do know of anyone that might be interested, that process is open for people to sign up and apply. And then, of course, we are hiring for a variety of different positions. So facility attendants for our facility rental program, preschool teachers for our preschool program, Tiny Tots, a recreation leader for our adult 50+ program. And then we also have our summer camp leaders. And so Redwood Grove is going to be coming up. And so we are hiring quite a few positions. So again, if you know anyone, please feel free.
Positions or permanent?
Yeah, so camps. So you would have to be a minimum of 16 years of age,
Right.
and then yeah, and have an interest to work with youth in all different ages. So our camps go as young as 3.5, and then obviously all the way up to kind of our CITs, which would be 13 to 15-ish. And then with that, I will actually turn it over. That's everything for City of Los Altos in regards to flyers. I will go ahead and ask just so that Chris and Chris, I made you a co-host so you could turn on your camera. Yes.
Perfect. Do you copy, Jamie?
We do. We hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to list off some Town of Los Altos Hills activities and events in the order that they're displaying on the web packet. So not necessarily in chronological order, but I'll touch on the dates as we go through. The first activity, which is coming up this weekend, is a Hoppin' Hounds Biscuit Hunt. It is the 20th annual Hoppin' Hounds Biscuit Hunt, and it's in partnership with Palo Alto Animal Services and an agency that runs their no-kill shelter. Next up is a ribbon cutting, which is a multi-purpose room that's coming to Prisma Park. It was, you may be familiar with the Prop 68 funding, and the development program there. That's on Wednesday, April 19th. It's going to be a ribbon cutting with a social opportunity with a food truck there offering food. Next one I see on the packet is the annual Pathways Run Walk. I believe this is the 21st annual Pathways Run Walk. And it's just that there's a 10K, 5K where people run and walk. And there's also a fun run that's designed to be more inclusive of walking and running for fun. The next one up I see is a new program where Parks and Rec has partnered with Santa Clara County Public Health, a division within a division there that does healthy brain training. It's part of June is National Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and this is sort of time to coincide with June being National Alzheimer's Awareness Month. And then finally, a program that's happening all throughout April is a Make Everyday Earth Day program. It's led with support of the Los Altos Hills Youth Commission, who will essentially judge and pick their favorite ideas. It's an online forum sharing tips, recommendations, and goals to make Everyday Earth Day, and they'll share and pick their favorites, and they'll be eligible for eco-themed prizes. And with that, that concludes the flyers we've submitted.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you very much. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about any of the activities or flyers? Okay, we can move ahead then to the Commissioner Handbook.
So this was requested by the commission, and the one thing I will highlight is that we did include this before update. So I will share obviously a very large update from the conversation that City Council had on March 28th. But the handbook is the current handbook, which was before the changes that were made on March 28th. That is what was included in your packet. So once the updated version is available, we will forward the link because it's always listed on the city's website. But this was prior to that change, which I will highlight during my staff report.
Yeah, I had a question about it. I received a copy of that handbook when I'm sorry.
No, that's what I was going to say. We all did. Sorry.
Well, my question is, I received it when I first came on, and then you sent one on the email also as an attachment, but there's no date on either one. Are they the same document? There's
To my
been
knowledge.
no change since for a year and a half or 2 years. I don't know how long. And then there is going to be a new one that's going to come out.
That is correct. And that's partly because of direction that City Council took on the March 28th City Council meeting.
At the meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So there will be an updated version, but to your question, I believe those documents are the same. Yes.
Thank you. So Jamie, before you're able to, before this gets updated, are we going to be able to find out anything about their decision making?
Oh, absolutely. And I will, that's something that I will be sharing during my staff report. Correct.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, the next thing are the commission reports, subcommittees, several reports. So the first thing are the commission and subcommittee reports. Does anyone have any report from their subcommittee?
I don't think there was one due from us, was it? Not that I'm aware of. The two subcommittees that you and I
Right,
chaired, did we have any? I think we did give one last week.
right. And the only update I have on the subcommittee is that I did take the opportunity to take the spotlight. And I went to the Woodland Library, and there weren't very many missing, but I think the location of where it was being displayed wasn't ideal. So I've asked them to improve it, to bring it up, and I left them some new spotlight. I did go to Draeger's. Their shelf was empty, so I was able to refill that. As with Walgreens, filled that. And then Anita from the rec department, she did distribute to the local library here as well as the History Museum. So
That's great, thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. Yeah, excellent.
Gotta get the word out.
Yeah,
in every way possible.
I know. Yeah.
Just a comment on the transportation,
Mhm.
that I was pleased to see the updated description of the care transportation program included the Kaiser Hospital and Medical Center on St. Lawrence, on Lawrence Expressway. So that's already been updated. Well done, thank you for doing that.
Mhm. Yes, thank you. That's on two different committees, transportation and yours, Chris, what's yours called?
Mine is communication and information.
Communication, H, communication information. Okay. And then C, okay, thank you. Anything else? Well, thank you for those comments. Now we're ready for staff oral reports.
All right, so I will go ahead and kick us off. I did include some of these, but this was mailed out to let the community know that we are open for spring and summer camps. So our summer one will actually be coming out probably in the next month or so. But obviously our spring classes and summer camps are open for registration. It actually opened at the beginning of March, so it's been open for roughly about a month. And then again, summer classes will be here shortly, but you should have received one of these in the mail. And again, look for the summer one probably in the next few weeks. But the main part of my update, and this is something that I printed out, and if you can pass down, just take one. It is two-sided. So as I mentioned earlier, City Council actually did provide new direction. Basically, the short story is that the state of emergency for both the state and the city ended at the end of February. So starting in March, that was our first in-person meeting after having been completely virtual for just about 2.5 years. And so there was a lot of feedback provided not only by senior commissions, but the city does have 11 commissions. And so there was quite a bit of feedback received by various commissioners to City Council. So it was supposed to be discussed in the March 14th meeting, but because of the widespread power outages, it was forwarded to March 28th. So March 28th, City Council did update the policy that they will allow, and they did decide that council and commissions would be held to the same standard. And so they are going to allow commissioners to participate via teleconferencing. But there are very specific parameters that you have to meet according to the Brown Act. And our city attorney has done a great job. So our assistant city manager, John Maginot, actually did email this out last week, but I thought it would be important to provide a copy and review that during my staff report today, and that there are two options. And so in the traditional Brown Act, first one is that the commissioner teleconferencing, so wherever you are taking the meeting virtually, it must be open to the public. This is under the traditional Brown Act. And it's one or the other. You can't mix and match between both columns. Next one is that the commissioner participating should be through audio, video, or both. The commission does not have to provide the public with any additional ways to participate remotely. There is no limit on the number of times a commissioner can teleconference, and the commission elects to use, so they choose to use teleconference. The quorum of commissioners must participate from within the city, so the city of Los Altos, and votes must be taken by roll call. Now, the new provision, which is AB 2449, is that the location of the commissioner from where you are taking the meeting remotely is not open to the public. Commissioner participating remotely must participate audio and video. The public must be able to participate via audio and video or in person, so all three options. Commissioner may not participate remotely for 3 consecutive months or 20% of the meeting. Only 2 just causes can be provided within 1 year. A commissioner provides a just cause and a commissioner requests to participate remotely due to an emergency circumstance. And a quorum of commissioners must participate in 1 physical location within the city. So we would need a quorum of commissioners at 1 location. Yes. And votes are not required to be taken by roll call. So those are the key differences between the traditional Brown Act versus AB 2449. And obviously so it is an option. These, the one thing I will highlight is that there were some additional parameters that City Council has asked city staff to come up with and provide additional information, which, as I mentioned, they are going to update the commission handbook to reflect this new direction, because obviously the one that was included in your packet said that teleconferencing was not allowed. That obviously has changed. So it is effective immediately, but as I mentioned, it is 1 column or the other that we would have to follow. Again, we can't mix and match between the 2. So this is an option, and depending, it is available to the commission, but obviously we would have to follow the parameters as outlined in this memo. So happy to, this is new territory, because it is slightly different than what under the state of emergency, what we were doing previously during the pandemic. So if there are additional questions, I will do my best to answer. If not, I will get back to you with answers if I don't have them now. Yes.
Thank you, and I'm George Tyson from the town of Los Altos Hills, and I'm on several other boards where they have the same kinds of terms, but it has to do with the attendance area, or not the attendance area, but the jurisdiction of an agency. So I would say in this case, it's being a joint between Los Altos and Los Altos Hills. It ought to say this, when it says the city, it should be the city of Los Altos or Los Altos Hills. It should say that.
No, I will definitely take note and follow up.
For this particular commission.
Mhm.
And also library commission.
Correct. We do have 2 joint commissions. Are there other questions by the commissioners? And again, this is now we had the pandemic and the how we ran the meetings. We had 1 in-person meeting under our belt, which was March, and now we have slightly new parameters going forward. Now, obviously, April is still similar to March, but we now have this option coming forward. So it will be new territory going forward, and we will, as staff, do our best to make sure that we navigate that.
In the very last cell on the AB 2449, it says vote not required to be taken by roll call. What does that mean?
So if you noticed during the pandemic, each individual, either council member or commissioner, was asked to whether to register their vote, whether it was an aye, a nay, or an abstention. Essentially, we would still, and there are a number of questions under AB 2449, questions that we would need to ask at the beginning of each meeting. But if and when we needed to take a vote, we would not individually have to go to each commissioner, which under again, under the traditional Brown Act, we would have to go by roll call. So we would have to then, as an example, Commissioner Bitsigi, would you vote? What is your aye, nay, or abstention?
I have a clarifying question. So each commissioner can pick one column A or column B. Is that true, or the whole commission has to make a determination?
Whole commission. So as it, yes. So and this is where it gets, again, we have to go one column or the other. I think the best example and one of the things that we would need to highlight is it's almost towards the bottom. So under the traditional Brown Act, quorum of commissioners has to participate from within the city versus under AB 2449, quorum of commissioners must participate in one physical location. So it has to be one or the, again, we would have to match both, one of those depending on if we were going traditional Brown Act or if we were going AB 2449.
If the commissioner is participating via Zoom, that's not considered a part of the quorum?
If we were under the traditional Brown Act, which, multiple commissioners can, so let's say that you as residents of Los Altos or Los Altos Hills potentially might take the meeting from home or within the city limits, then we could potentially have multiple commissioners as long as you're within the city, that would work. One of at least some of the feedback that we got is that commissioners do travel. So if in that instance, someone were not within the city limits, they were traveling out of state or out of country, they wanted to take the meeting while they were out of the city limits, that would put us under AB 2449, which that person could be remote, but we would still have to have a quorum of commissioners in one location. So it complicates it a little bit more. We just have to make sure that we tick all of those check boxes depending on which one we are going to apply.
That's for, long wind in this, but I'm thinking that if a commission participates from a remote location, would he or she be considered part of a voting block? In other words, when you roll call for vote or in whatever form you get the vote registered, would her vote or his vote count or not count? Because they're remote.
No, so that wouldn't necessarily affect their ability to vote, but obviously we would have to select which set of parameters we were following. But if they were participating remotely, and let's say we were under traditional Brown Act, then their vote would count. Yes, no, absolutely. In the instance, again, the ability for your vote to count wouldn't necessarily, remote versus not remote, but I think it would depend upon which one we were following and whether we had a quorum or not, and kind of where, and I think you're thinking of kind of the instance that we had, which in March, we did have a commissioner that chose not to be in person, so they were participating as a member of the public. In that instance, again, they were not a voting member, even though they were technically on the commission. We were required to be in person. So I think that was the most recent example that we had where they were not a voting member, but it was because they were participating as a member of the public in that case. So again, there are probably many instances that might kind of come up. And so again, this is new territory for us and something that we will have to navigate. So we will do our best to make sure that we're following accordingly.
I think I heard you say that we choose whether we're doing a traditional Brown Act or an AB 2449, and I don't see that's the way it's being implemented in other places. In general, people are saying we're going for a traditional Brown Act meeting. However, if any member is ill or has an emergency, they participate that way. And I had a fascinating thing happen about 2 weeks ago where most people were in the room and we had one Brown Act remote person and one AB 2449 remote person who was a voting participant. But people started to drift away. And as soon as we lost our quorum in the room, the AB 2449 person switched to the public, but we still had a quorum overall because of the other person, so we could still vote. So there's a trick for you.
No.
there are definitely a lot of nuances. This is, I will say this is new to me. I would not consider myself, an exact expert yet because we're still learning kind of these new parameters. So as wanted to bring that to the commission's attention, we will definitely make sure that we follow, obviously, appropriately, depending on the scenarios that come up. But I think the end result is that teleconferencing or remote participation is possible. I think that's the generalization, that it is possible, but you obviously have to follow certain parameters to make sure that we have a quorum in the appropriate place and that we follow, obviously, particular protocol. So the handbook will be updated, and once that is done, we will share that with the commission accordingly.
So at what point do we vote on this?
It is not something that you have to vote for, because it is set by city council. So this is informative in nature. This is an option that has been allowed. And so you do not have to vote.
But you're saying the whole commission, as a commission, has to pick one or the other. As individual commissioners, we can't pick one or the other.
No, and so I'll have to clarify. It's so that was the other part. I think the city council wants it to be again, one set of rules for commissions and council. So the parameters will be the same, at least with all of the different public groups that the city has. My understanding, though, is that, and what I meant by that is that you can't pick from one side and then mix it from the other, unless there's maybe a certain circumstance that maybe there might be, but I would need to get clarification. So as a commission, you wouldn't need to select it right now. My intent was that we should be following according to the columns as listed.
One or the other.
Correct. But both are available.
Okay.
It's clear as mud, right?
I see the opportunity, talking business.
No, I will definitely share more information. Again, it's very, very new. This was a direction that was put forward just this past Tuesday. So us as staff liaisons will probably need some additional guidance on how to navigate this new opportunity for commissioners to participate. So as more information and scenarios come up, we'll definitely try and clarify as best we can.
So before each meeting, when you send out the packet, you are going to have a Zoom information, because people are going, whether you're one column or the other, you are going to be able to zoom in at some,
Correct.
for some circumstance.
Correct.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's a lot to be determined.
It's complicated. It is not as simple as what it was before, and there's definitely additional parameters and guidelines that we have to follow. So we will navigate those together.
Living an exciting time.
We are with lots of different opportunities as well. So those are my main updates. And then I will turn it back over to Chris with the Town of Los Altos Hills. I'm not sure if there were any other updates that you had besides the flyers.
Thanks, Jamie. No, I was just prepared to share some upcoming programs and activities.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Chris. And so I'll continue with just a few highlights for our adult 50+ program. On behalf of Terry Anderson, our recreation coordinator. So the first one is that there is a mini trip to Filoli, and that is scheduled. It's for members only on Thursday, April 13th. And that is a fee-based mini trip. So if there is interest, it was highlighted in our March, April spotlight. And so register on our registration software, or you can call our Adult 50+ Center to register. And that is by April 5th, so there is still time to register if you're interested. We also, our pickleball program is extremely popular. And the one thing I will highlight is that our indoor program is held at Egan Gym. And Egan was one of the few school sites that still had power during the widespread power outages. So we did host program, and we had quite a few members that were very thankful for that opportunity because they needed something to do. So we were very happy that we could provide that opportunity. And as we all know, pickleball is quite a popular and growing sport. So that program has been extremely well attended and continues to be. We also have also highlights a variety of the calendars and programs, but we also have our Thursday movie this month, which will fall on Thursday, April 20th. And the movie will actually be My Fair Lady. And so that again will be 12:30 here at the community center. And then again, just a variety of different classes and options listed in the calendar as well. But those are the few things that I wanted to highlight. And wonderful numbers, again, because we have our Premier Passport membership, and that has been going extremely well. We're continuing to get new members on a daily basis. So we're going to continue to encourage that so that the community and the members get access to some of the member-only perks. But that is everything. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
One off the wall question. Because the town was very assertive or aggressive in trying to establish pickleball courts. Where are we on that?
Absolutely. So we have our indoor program, and outdoor has been, unfortunately, has been on hold because of the weather. So we do have a selected vendor that is supposed to install lines so that Mackenzie Park will become shared use between pickleball and tennis. It is going to be a pilot program. The one thing I will say is that it's been a long process, and we've heard very passionate feedback from the community, the tennis community, the pickleball community. So we've tried to balance all of that, and we landed on a pilot program to start at Mackenzie. But the weather that we've been having the past few months has not been ideal to install the line. So unfortunately, I get probably weekly emails wondering when that's going to happen. And as soon as the weather is, and we meet all of the conditions that the vendor needs to put the lines down appropriately, it will happen. We just haven't been able to schedule it yet because of the weather.
So
But it's coming.
This is a permanent conversion of some tennis courts into pickleball.
Yes, so I will say that we at Mackenzie, there have been some community members have put tape down, so to temporarily provide opportunity. This will be permanent, so we will paint the lines for shared use, but it is a pilot program to give us an opportunity to find out if there's enough interest, if that's the right location. Because obviously introducing a new activity or amenity does have impacts to the surrounding area. So we want to make sure that that's the right center and the right location. So it is absolutely.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have any more information about recruitment for the commission?
Yeah, so at the moment, and I don't have the one piece of information that I can share is that the city council has adjusted to recruiting once a year, and this will be in the September timeframe. Previously, it was a biannual recruitment, so that has adjusted to September. I'm trying to get additional information because obviously there will be some transition because there were half the commission that was recruited for and kind of adjusted around this time. Then the other part was in the September, October timeframe. So we're a little bit in a transition as we move towards that new schedule. But just waiting to get additional information of any other updates that would occur. But at the moment, the Los Altos City Council did opt to actively recruit once a year, which was going to be in the September timeframe.
So, for example, our commission is down 2 commissioners right now. And so we have to wait until September to recruit for the 2 empty positions.
Yeah, I
Or
think.
are there emergency circumstances?
No, absolutely. My recollection, and I would have to confirm this, and I will share that with the commission once it is confirmed. But my understanding of that is if it does, as an example, let's say that due to attrition, a commission falls below a quorum of commissioners, that you could potentially make that request to fall outside of the annual recruitment. But I think if I remember correctly, that needed to be a request through the chair and staff liaison to then city council so that they could take that under consideration. Yep.
Thank you for your reports, Jamie.
No, absolutely.
I think that concludes our.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
have a question, Jim?
Yeah.
I don't, but I want to second what she mentioned. If your reports are always very, very informative and very thorough, and today was no different. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Candace actually reminded me of one more. So the packet of information that you receive before each of the meetings. This particular one happened to be quite large because it had the commission handbook, it had quite a few flyers. And unfortunately, the graphic element sometimes create very large files, which sometimes, if you have spam filters, they sometimes block out those that have large attachments. And so with that, we always post on the city website. And obviously we always post the link to the video, which is posted on the city's YouTube channel. Because we had a challenge with this particular packet, we are going to send the link to the city's, the packet on the city's website, rather than doing the attachment, because we've heard that unfortunately sometimes those are filtered out into people's spam, filtered through spam filters. So we will be doing links to both, not only the packet, but the video of the meeting as well.
I have no problem getting it to by the way.
Oh, perfect.
I think we got the link.
That's
how I got.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Study one, part 1, part 2.
No, you experienced the challenge that we had because we had to literally break it up into pieces to make it manageable to send through email. So for future, we will be just sending the link so that you can access the full packet.
Any other questions or comments? I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
do we want to do future agenda items?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The biggest one, I think, is the cafe, yeah, exactly, age friendly, yeah.
Yes, that will remain and I think, given some of the updates that we had, that will be a slightly more robust topic that we will have to discuss in May. So I think that will be a good topic to keep for May.
And the work plan.
And the work plan too, yes.
Anything else? Else we're forgetting?
No, I think those two are,
Be the main thing.
yeah.
How come you're so down in terms of number of commissioners this time around?
So what?
Oh, I think part of it was return to in person. So I think that had a big change, but I think also too, we've had change in availability as well too. So not specifically for this commission, but I think for other commissions as well.
That's good, thank you.
I think so.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.